Well, thank you all for today's class on the second part of activity and nutrition code. My name is David Clary. I am the CEO and owner of F.I.T.T. I'm also the creator of the health code. I designed this class to instruct and provide a great source of knowledge about general health, designed it for the Ward 8 area of DC, where my wife and I currently live. And I am looking to help out with the healthy lifestyle in this community. But I also designed it to be a hybrid friendly course, meaning you can watch this from anywhere in the world, from your phone, your computer, or your tablet. So as we continue, I want to get started with the codes. You have 3 codes that you have to abide by to live a healthy lifestyle. Those are the activity code. Elements within the activity code are strength, endurance, and stretching. The nutrition code. Within the elements within the nutrition code are the micronutrients, which we are going to talk about, caloric intake, and your meal prep, which is a class that will be separate from today. Last class, we talked about rejuvenation, talking about different strategies to help out with increasing your mental and physical recovery when it comes to daily stress or just physical stress built on from the mental stress from the day. And we're gonna get straight into it, starting off with the nutrition code. And specifically, the nutrition code topic is going to center around the caloric intake and how macronutrients are affected with our calorie intake. And before we actually get into the breakdown of this, I just want to let you all know that calories are, in a nutritional term, are the energy supplier of what we need to survive. And it's supplied within the foods that we eat, from the plants and animals that we are eating within our food. Protein has its own caloric density, which is 4 calories per gram of protein. Fats, there are 9 calories per gram. So you could just imagine the difference between a high fat meal and a high protein meal. The calories are going to be a little bit higher within a high fat meal compared to a high protein meal. Carbs are going to give us 4 calories per gram, same as the protein. And what people forget to recognize is that alcohol has a calorie count as well, which is 7 calories per gram of alcohol that you are consuming. So all 4 of these you have to pay very close attention to as you are going about your day. Have everything within moderation. And as you can tell, fats have the highest caloric density out of all of the macronutrients. So you have to watch your intake of fat. And it's tricky because fat can be hidden within our food, especially when we're going out to restaurants. A lot of food is preserved in fat-based items. So once again, you have to think about the food that you're bringing into your body. And so that leads me to some data that I collected from myfooddata.com. And I just want to go a little bit more in depth into really figuring out what you're putting into your body. So just a basic example is looking at how fried chicken is compared to rotisserie chicken. And so just up front, the caloric intake is higher than in fried chicken than it is in rotisserie chicken. Even when it comes to carbs, when you're having a fried element of, in this case, chicken, you're adding in that breaded component, which is going to have those carbs in it, as compared to the rotisserie chicken, which is not going to have any carbs in it at all, outside of maybe the seasoning that might go in it. But typically, if it's not breaded, it's not going to have any level of carbs in it. The protein comparison is pretty interesting, that even with the same quantity, where there's 3 ounces comparable to the rotisserie chicken and the fried chicken, the rotisserie chicken is going to have a higher protein percentage compared to the fried chicken. The fat comparison is as expected, because the food is fried. You should expect there to be a higher concentration of fat intake going into the food item as compared to the rotisserie chicken. Paying attention to what you eat, while you're putting it into your body is extremely important. Ultimately, just want you to understand the food that you're bringing into your body. So as we move into the activity code, once again, this class is an extension on to the last class. And last class, we talked about the basic ideas of how to incorporate your activity into your life. And one way is the FIT principle. FIT is going to stand for frequency, intensity, time, and type. And as you can see the definitions, each one of these are going to describe how you can program your workout. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the programming concept of the FIT principle. So ideally, according to the American College of Sports Medicine, you want to aim for 30 to 60 minutes for all the variations of exercises. So as you can see on the screen, we have the gentleman who is pressing some heavy weights from the floor. And this is an example of a strength workout, pushing against a level of resistance. So ideally, you want to incorporate 2 to 3 times a week of a strength workout where you are applying some level of resistance to your muscle mass, trying to improve that on top of improving just your overall strength throughout the day. For endurance, you want to maintain a endurance or cardio workout 3 to 5 times throughout the week. That's included with the 2 to 3 times a week of a strength workout. So don't just do cardio work. Don't just go out and jog or go out and do your walks. Incorporate some level of training for strength. And honestly, people forget that balance training is also a part of strength. So that incorporates Tai Chi to even levels of yoga. And as I speak on yoga, you need to focus on the frequency of stretching every single day. And we do that unintentionally as we wake up in the morning. When you wake up and you're trying to loosen up your body from the stiffness of you sleeping all night. But you should also incorporate the levels of stretching like this classes, like this yoga classes, and just any other level of stretching, even if it's a conscious stretching circuit of you standing up from your seat, from being at a conference, a virtual conference all day, getting up, moving around, twisting your body so that your body's joints and ligaments can have some fluidity in them so that they don't tense up and you don't cause any other levels of stiffness or tightness. So as we move on into the intensity of our workout or of your workout, you first want to understand how to develop the intensity, all right? And so the easiest way to understand that is through progressive overload. And this is a general term that is brought around in the strength community, but specifically in relation to everything from the types that we just talked about, from strength to endurance to stretching. You want to progressively overload your body. There's a fairly classic picture of a famous Greek wrestler. His name was Milov Croton. And pretty much he was a very famous wrestler because his training routine was from youth all the way into his adult career as a very successful wrestler. He was just carrying an ox. But what he noticed was as that ox was getting older, that ox was getting heavier. And he also had to adapt to that level of resistance. And so that same concept should be applied to your everyday life when you are trying to incorporate your intensity. And once again, not just including resistance into your strength workouts, but progressively overload or increase the resistance of your endurance, meaning don't walk for the same amount of miles every time that you go on your endurance runs or walks. You want to make sure that you are improving it, whether that means you're going on a jog, improving that, taking it to an incline. Add on to what you have already accomplished in your workout so that your body can adapt and become stronger and or faster and or more flexible, whether that means you trying to increase your stretching day by day or hour by hour, working on that consistently so that you can improve all aspects of the types of workouts for yourself. So begin to progressively overload to begin so that you can develop your intensity. You should also focus on ways to track your intensity. Before we really dive into what tracking means, I want you to understand what your metabolism is. And so ultimately, the metabolism is a distinguishing factor, just like what we talked about, the amount of calories that your body burns while it is in a specific state of being. So resting versus, as you can see, daily expenditure, you have a resting metabolism. And just like it states, that's how many calories that you burn when you are in the resting state. So you burn calories when you are sitting, you burn calories while you are eating, you burn calories while you are sleeping. And everybody has a baseline level of their resting metabolism. The other concept of the metabolism is understanding your daily expenditure. So on top of your resting metabolism, when you are in a rested state, obviously your body is burning calories, but you're also burning calories when you work out. And you're also burning calories when you are having to get up and walk across the street to the grocery store or pick up those heavy groceries and walk them back. So all of that is a part of the daily expenditure. And ultimately, that's determining whether you are a sedentary individual, a moderately active, or heavily active individual. Applying that concept into your resting metabolism, and that will be your daily expenditure. Once you evaluate what your resting metabolism is, you can understand the concept of calories in versus calories out. And this is the traditional way of understanding when you are trying to maintain your weight or gain some weight or lose weight. The basic idea of this is the amount of calories that you are consuming or eating throughout the day. If you are trying to decrease weight, you should be burning more of those calories throughout the day so that you can be in a so-called caloric deficit, and your body should be able to lose the weight that you're looking for. And the vice versa. If you're looking to increase weight, you want to still have a fairly decent caloric intake, but you want to have a little bit less of activity if you are trying to really increase your weight, right? And so according to the USDA and the CDC, if you are somebody who is looking to decrease weight week by week, you can lose a pound a week if you really focus on burning 500 calories additional onto per day. Additional meaning additional to your resting metabolism onto your day. So I'm familiar with the Apple Watch. So if you look on the screen, I've put up an image that kind of gives a breakdown of what the Apple Watch will kind of show you so you can have a better idea of how to track the calories that you're burning. And on the screen, you can kind of see on the far right, it gives you your move and your exercise calculations. So once again, adding that extra 500 calories per day, on top of making sure that you are eating correctly and following what you're eating, making sure that you're not eating in excess, ideally it will decrease 1 pound per week. Okay, so and obviously everybody's body is different. Women are going to burn calories a little bit slower than men, especially when it comes to weight. A 200-pound man is going to burn calories a little bit faster than a man who is 130 pounds. So everybody's body is a little different, and everybody's metabolism is different, and determine how fast your body is going to burn that fat off. Ultimately, you need to establish the why of your activity and your nutrition. Are you somebody who's trying to compete for a marathon? Well, that means that you have to really zone in on not just your activity and increasing your strength and endurance. Obviously, your stretching is extremely important to increase your flexibility, but your nutrition needs to be just as important. If anything, it needs to be just as good, because your energy levels throughout a marathon are going to play a big role in your performance. Are you somebody who's trying to feel good just looking at yourself in the mirror? I mean, ultimately, what are you doing to love yourself? Even if the scale is qualifying you in the obese category, as long as you are in love with your body, that's what matters. So are you in love with yourself in the mirror? You need to answer that question. And if you aren't, what strategies are you taking to love yourself for who you are? All right. So put that into your why if that's something that you are trying to establish that motivation. And since we are at the Good Foods Market, why wouldn't you want to carry the groceries and not feel fatigued while you are carrying them from the checkout line to your car, right? These are all different reasons to find the motivation to increase your strength, whether it's from the grip strength to your endurance to your overall bodily strength and flexibility. So to kind of bring everything full circle, you need to let the activity and nutrition codes specifically complement your daily routine. And what I mean by that is if you are having a high caloric meal, then you need to have a high activity day. All right. You can't have a high caloric meal and just be sedentary throughout the day if your goal is to decrease weight. Now, if your goal is to increase your performance and if you're an athlete, you have to do both. You have to have that high caloric intake and that high activity so that your body has the right amount of energy to fuel you for the performance of your athletic event. If you're a sedentary individual, obviously you have to decrease the amount of calories that you're eating. You have to decrease the meals one way or another and watch out once again for those high fat meals. We just talked about the fats have a higher caloric density compared to your carbs and your protein. So you have to watch out for those meals that have the sneaky fats in them, meaning the fats that are preserved inside foods at restaurants and or in frozen food aisles. The whole concept is trying to decrease your body's bodily fat. And if you are adding more onto it, you're going against the grain of your overall goal. So once again, I want to appreciate everybody for sticking with me virtually and in person. We will be going into next class next week on meal prep. So please stick around, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day.